Okay, yeah, we're recording now. So, hello everybody. Welcome to the Celibate Vegan Voices podcast. I'm Chastity White Rose. I'm here with my compadre Monique Lukens. Although,
Hey, hello.
although I'm actually thinking we need to have a fancy name for you, Monique. Like, I mean, I know you have like the unique Monique thing going, but maybe we could come up with like some really elegant sounding name for you, like your special podcast name. So
Oh,
that's something to think about. But anyway, yes. So this episode, Monique and I are going to discuss a few interesting things, especially when it comes to people with gender identity and ideas of male or female, masculine and feminine, because this is something that I personally feel very strongly about, and it's something I've become more and more aware of in different ways because the people might not understand what it means to be transgender or non-binary or non-gender conforming, for example. However, this is something that is important for everyone to understand. It's not just something to understand if you're some person with an abnormal gender identity. This is something for everyone to understand because our ideas as a society about gender is so closely connected to people's ideas about sexuality. It's way too closely connected. People have very strict ideas about gender and sex, and I want to be the first to mention, this is a kind of a disclaimer that everybody has to mention, that gender and sex are not the same thing. People often get confused, and and that people think that male, basically people have an oversimplified biological definition. It's like if you were born with a penis, you're male, and if you were born with a vagina, you're female. People think that's what it's about, so they're confused. Well, what do the people mean that they're trans this or that they identify as this? And what it simply means, and here's all it really means. My oversimplified autistic definition is you don't have to be defined by what body parts you have. Basically, that's the thing, is that yes, we all have a biological sex. All of us are either male or female from a purely biological perspective. But that does not mean that our attitudes, our beliefs, our personality, what we prefer to do for a career, or what kinds of toys we like to play with, or what kind of cartoons we watch has anything to do with it. And here's a fine example. People who are biologically male are heavily criticized for watching My Little Pony. For
I knew
some
you were
reason,
going to say it.
yes,
I knew that was
this
coming.
is the most important discussion to have, seriously. Because first of all, I am like the biggest brony that there ever could be. And Monique was president of the My Little Pony fan club
No,
a long time
treasurer,
ago.
treasurer,
Oh
treasurer.
yeah, it was Treasure. Anyway, either way, it's cool. But anyway, but people have this idea that it's okay to watch My Little Pony if you have a vagina. That's basically what they're saying. Like, if you have a vagina, then it's okay for you to watch this cartoon. But if you have a penis, then it's bad for you to watch this cartoon. And first of all, that show is a non-sexual show. Have vaginas. They don't. They removed all that and kept it G-rated.
Nor do
Yeah.
they have penises. That's really interesting, just to interject.
Yeah.
Isn't it something how no dolls have really ever had, as far as I know, a true genitalia? So what does that mean exactly if they don't have genitalia? You froze. I guess that's what people think when.
Because,
Oh, there
yeah.
you are.
And that is because nobody likes those body parts, nor do they want their children to see those body parts, and which tells you something. See, the thing that's very weird is that they always remove references to genitals and sexual things in kids shows. They do this, and why is that? Well, that's because people have an uncomfortable feeling about sex and genitals anyway, and that's why they are too afraid to talk to their kids about it, and or for their kids to see it in movies or cartoons. And even the dolls are not going to have that genitalia, and you know that they're not going to put a penis on the Ken dolls. They're not going to do that. Why? Because then if they have that, then the little girls playing with these dolls, they've got the Barbie and the Ken, they're going to see this penis on the Ken doll, and they're going to be like, "Mommy, what's this thing on Ken?" You know, and their mommy does not want to explain what a penis is to their 5-year-old girl. They don't want to do that. So, so that's why they remove those from those toys. I'm sure of it. But yeah. However, see, this is something I've become more and more aware of gender roles and sexuality and how it all interplays, because to put things very simply about me personally, because this I'm going to tell my own story and my own discovery of my identity and what it all practically means in a practical sense. But I also want this to be something everybody can relate to, because either you or anybody you know is going to at some point experience some form of discrimination where somebody is told that you can't do this. For example, boys aren't allowed to cry. Boys have to be tough and manly. You know, boys and men are taught to hide their emotions and not be sensitive or not be caring. So they basically live this life in this robot mode where they don't pretend not to care about anything. You know, and that's a horrible thing. And meanwhile, the girls are being told all these things about how they have to look pretty and they have to dress a certain way and all that stuff. All these horrible messages that people send to their kids starting from the youngest ages. And what I wanted, my point in all this and talking about this is to completely abolish the concept of gender from human society. I think it's a completely fallacious and nonsensical concept that needs to be destroyed. And there are some key things I may say that may surprise people, because I have strong disagreements both with the mainstream society when it comes to gender identity, but I also have strong disagreements with the so-called LGBT community as well, because some of them go way too far off in this weird thing where they're so confusing and make no sense. But here's what I realized about myself. Now, of course,
not to mention that some of them really get into the sexual part.
Yes.
And it's like overt, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of them, no, I don't want to say a lot because I feel like I'm generalizing, but
yeah.
I've heard, you know, the S&M where, you know, the whips and the chains. I've heard more in the homo, you know, orientations, and I don't mean just men, women. I've heard that more than hetero people doing it. Maybe it's now mixed, but I've heard some very hardcore activities coming out of that community. In fact, to interject one time, this was many years ago, I had created this song which I named Lipstick Lesbian because someone kept calling me Lipstick Lesbian because he was gay and I think he wanted me to come to his corner, and also because he knew that I was celibate. So I guess he thought that I must not like men, which is so untrue. I did change the title to She Wants No Boyfriend, Just a Wife, because the Lipstick Lesbian got a bad connotation. There's this guy, Howard Stern, and he used to always like talk about the lipstick lesbians like they were some sex goddesses that like jumped on one another and whatnot. I didn't want that because that's not what I meant. I wanted to put in my song an element of social political consciousness because, you know, whether or not you agreed with it or not, I put all the elements of what this person's life might be like. And I had found a letter on my college floor that was from a lesbian. and she said she wanted to kill herself. I'll never forget reading it. I think I gave it to the secretary of the department because, yeah, like I didn't want anybody to take their life because they were gay. But I was going with something. Wait a minute. Hang on a second. Oh yeah, so I had this website. This was many years ago, before it was popular for people to have their own websites as it is now. And I had that song on there, and somebody from California found me, and he started asking about my sex life, which I was very uncomfortable with. And then when I stated that, he said, "Oh, well, you're the one talking about your sex life," and started talking about how like gays are into sex, and like I didn't know that at all because I hadn't met that many, but the ones that I knew, like I had an acting teacher and he had a partner. They never talked about sex, but it was when I got into the big city that I noticed that they were talking about rough kind of stuff. And I performed at this one club, and they had condoms out on the table for people to take, like as party favors. But I never meant to make a song about a gay woman because I was trying to sell sex. Even there was a manager who said, "Oh, Monique sells sex," and so I retracted from that. By the way, the guy in California, there were many complaints against him. He used to coerce people to manage them, and like a Harvey Weinstein kind of thing almost.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I got out of that. But yeah, but I just wanted to interject that because I thought you were going to get into that where you're not so agreeable to the LGBTQ.
Yes.
And why do you think that they didn't put the A on for so long? Because I think that they were insulted. Like, oh, you're not harassed, or oh, what's the problem? You don't like sex? Yeah, there was a lot of backlash from that community.
Well, let me tell you, asexuals probably get discriminated against more than the LGBT people. They actually
absolutely now do. They do.
And if you don't know that, that's because you're not an ace. You haven't experienced it. Or even if you're an ethical celibate, not necessarily asexual, you're still going to face a lot of criticism. And I do want to talk about that some more. So thanks for bringing that up. But here's the thing that is one of the first things is that when people see that somebody looks like a man or a woman, yes, there are biological characteristics physically that, yes, we're male or female, although there are intersex people that are technically both, meet the genetic qualifications and physical attributes of male and female. They're rare, but they do exist. But here's the thing so somebody looks at me. The people have done this over and over in my life. And they talk to me about sports, or they talk to me about cars, or they asked me, "Have you had any girls over to your apartment?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't had any guests. I just moved." And then I said, "Well, why girls specifically?" And she said, "Well, maybe so you can play." And I'm like, "Well, yeah." And I said, "Well, maybe I could. I really like to play video games with my friend Lucas. I play Pokemon and Minecraft with Lucas on our Nintendo Switches. But I think she was referencing something sexual. I have no idea why a coworker was asking me if I had girls over to my apartment. But she's a very creepy lady. She's the same person who told me God causes miscarriages too. So I don't take her very seriously. Yeah.
At your new job?
Yeah, my new job. There's this really rude lady. I shouldn't mention her name, but yeah, one day she was asked.
That's discrimination.
It's
that.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe. Yeah, she was weird, and she even asked me if somebody else is gay, and I'm like, I don't know, it's none of my business. That's what I told her. It's none of my business if somebody's gay, So I don't go around asking other people if they're gay. So I don't know why she was asking me if this other guy was gay. Like, why would I know? Monique, do I look like somebody who automatically knows who's gay? Like, I've heard,
No.
I know that lady is crazy. So enough about her though. Yeah, but see, that's just an example. The point is, people look at me and they think, oh, this person is a man, so he must like cars and he must like having sex with women and he must watch the Chiefs football team because men love football. So I've realized
That's
something.
Kansas City, right? I knew that.
Yes,
Kansas
yes.
City Chiefs.
Let me tell you something that I am so bad. Okay. So I love it when the Chiefs lose, just because I am so sick of all the Chiefs fans in the Kansas City area. Everybody is nuts about the Kansas City Chiefs, and I don't watch football. I don't really care. I just like them to lose so that everybody will shut up. The Chiefs. Because when they win, they talk about the Chiefs more. So when they lose, then they're not into it as much. So I hope the Chiefs keep losing for that reason alone.
I understand.
But yeah.
I am not a football fan. I
Yeah.
am not a fan of people just tackling each other and piling on one another, getting brain damage, and then wanting to take their lives after their brain has been scrambled. Not into it.
I know, whether it's the 5G towers or it's the football, everybody's getting brain damage, you know. But yeah. Anyway, but the point is,
I
people.
drink to that.
Yeah, yeah. But people
Organic
look at.
juice.
Yes. Yeah. But the point that I'm trying to get to is, people look at your body and they automatically assume that you have these interests and you want to do these specific things. So all my life, people have looked at me, and yes, I look like a man because yes, unfortunately, I grow facial hair. I get really tired of shaving it, and I don't have boobs. So yeah, I look like a man to people, but they assume that I like football, and they assume that I want to have sex with women, and they are wrong in so many ways, and it became painfully obvious to me the older I got how I was not, by any stretch of the imagination, a man by society standards. And I do believe that this male and female gender identity, it is a concept completely made up by society. It's not the LGBT community that has made this stuff up. No, what the LGBT community is a reaction to society.
Oh, you're cutting out a bit.
Are biologically female, Monique. People all your life. Oh no. Oh no. Can you hear me? I don't. Oh no, it says poor connection. This is good stuff.
I could hear you, but you were going out. Oh. Can
you hear me? This is sad. It's like our connection.
Okay. Yeah, there was about 15 seconds I couldn't hear you.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to repeat myself just a few seconds. Okay, so basically, for example, because you're biologically female, I already know people have probably made assumptions about you, haven't they? They have assumed that you're going to marry some man, and they've assumed that you're going to have sex and have babies. They've just assumed these things about you because society has this idea that being a man or being a woman is all about sex and making babies and heterosexual marriages. That's what society's goal seems to be. And several things have challenged that over the years. Over the past few decades, things have changed. It's been very slow of a change, but things have been changing. Because first, homosexuals, for example, have always been around throughout history. It's just that it used to be that they were killed by certain people who didn't like them, obviously. But it's become so much more common, especially with the rise of the internet, that the gay people were finding each other and starting events, and it became more public. So people finally had to realize, yes, gay people exist, and these are people who are not having sex with the same with the opposite biological sex, but they're the same sex. And so it took society so long before they started accepting that, and most people still don't accept it. Like, I would say that the majority of people, unless they are gay themselves, the majority of the straight people don't understand homosexuality. But they don't need to understand that. And I would just ask them to not try to kill them anymore. That would be a nice start.
Absolutely. That's why I made that song, because, I felt bad for people that were targeted because of who they loved. It's not fair.
Yeah, and this is kind of a weird feeling that I have, but I kind of think it's weird that there's a different term for gay men as opposed to gay women. That gay women are called lesbians, whereas gay men are just gay. Like, why the distinction there? Like, why don't we just call them gay whether they're men or women?
Well, I guess their gender identity wants them to comply with that. But by the way, males don't like to be called homosexuals anymore. They like gay or gay men.
Yeah. They renamed
homosexual now is some sort of a well, it's like the N-word. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
Not as bad though.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Of course, I never use it in that context, obviously. I'm simply using it to describe what it is, as opposed to heterosexuality, which is the norm, obviously.
I understand.
Yeah, because just because homosexual people are called gay doesn't mean that heterosexuals are all depressed. Because gay used to mean happy, and now it has a different meaning. But just because you're straight doesn't mean you're automatically not happy. I just want to point that out. And then the bisexuals, which are, I'll think, a little bit more rare, really confuse society, because these are people who can have strong feelings for people of either biological sex. That's a thing that's very weird for people to get, though I don't see anything all that confusing about it personally. But and then, with the rise in recent years about more and more people identifying as transgender, people get really confused about this because it has some associations which I don't necessarily like. When people think of transgender, and then there's the older term transsexual, which I think has a slightly different meaning, but they are often used interchangeably by society sometimes. People, when they think of somebody who's transgender, they think of somebody who has like gender reassignment surgery, where they get their genitals, have surgery to make them look like the other. And the thing is, people do that. Some do, but doing so is expensive and dangerous. And I think, and my opinion on it is, of course, people, if they really have the money to do it and they really want to do it, of course, I don't think they should be stopped from doing that, of course. But let's acknowledge where the problem really lies. Society is obsessed with genitals, so much to the point where people think that they have to have surgery on their genitals just so that they can have sex in a way more acceptable to society. Like think about it. I think there are a lot of people that who want to have a fake vagina made so that they can have sex in a traditional way, just so that then they feel validated as the identity they are, so they can feel like their love is valid. And we've talked in our podcast about this extensively, how people think that you have to have a sexual act with genitals in order for your love to be valid. People don't understand they equate love and sex, and this is a real problem. This is something that directly touches us as celibates, because we want people to understand that love and sex are not the same thing, and that and in fact, they're very quite separate, because if you look at the people who have sex and they don't love each other, then you can also realize that people can love each other even if they never do any sexual acts. So the bottom line is, you love who you love, and you can have a close you can have a close connection and love somebody without having to have surgery on your body parts so you can do something weird in some physical sexual way. I feel like that is an illness that society has created. Like the majority of society with their gender roles and all these strict things, like think about it, if people were just allowed to have whatever relationships without being criticized, then maybe there wouldn't be so many people trying to modify their body through hormones and surgery. Think about it. But it's almost like I personally, here's how I feel. I wish that I had been born biologically female, and I've mentioned that in the past. And my reasons for this are very specific, that it is society that creates this feeling. I'll admit that, because the very fact that I'm told that that there's something wrong with me because of the cartoons I like to watch, because I watch girls' cartoons, or that I like certain girly things, or that I like to wear dresses in my apartment and weird stuff like that. The very fact that people look at the things that I like to do and tell me that's wrong, they're basically telling me that it's like, you're wrong because you were born with a penis, and therefore you shall not watch this cartoon and you shall not wear a dress. And to all those people, I got to tell you, don't knock My Little Pony till you try it. It is the best show, and you can enjoy that show no matter what genitals you were born with, I promise. And second of all, to be very specific, when you have a male genital, sometimes you don't feel like looking at it, and you want to wear a dress to cover it up and hide it so you don't have to look at it.
What kind of dresses are you wearing, and where are you getting them from?
Amazon.
Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon. Okay, do I have to show you my favorite dress?
Yeah. Sorry you're investing in Jeff Bezos' company, but...
Yeah, I've worn this a few times. This is my absolute favorite dress here, because it's a checkerboard dress, my absolute favorite pattern. So I searched hard to find this, but it's on Amazon. I got it for $15, bought it for my 31st birthday, and I love it because it has an amazingly wide skirt. So it's something I like to wear sometimes, So it's my favorite. I have a few more, but I don't really show them much because they were sent by a friend and they are kind of see-through. So I like the feeling of them, but I don't necessarily like the look because I can still see through it. So it's kind of a weird feeling. But I like the material and the feel of some of these things. But yeah.
Do you want to try one on for us?
Yeah, why not? Yeah. I'll just put it on over my shirt because this is very interesting. But I just love the feeling of this. Oh, my glasses are in the way. This is funny. But yeah, I love this dress. I gotta get my stuff out of the way. But yeah, see, I love this dress. Hey, this looks good with my shirt on too.
Yeah, you look like Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, I know. See, I absolutely love this dress because it just covers my whole body in checkerboard. It's my absolute favorite pattern. That's why I have all these pictures of my programming. I make the checkerboard pattern. And see, the skirt is actually very wide and long. And it's like this wide. So I like to dance and twirl around in it. That's the thing. Is like I always see in like those old movies, where people are dancing, and like as the women twirl around, they're wearing their skirts and like it spins, it does this cool thing. I always like the look at that. So I've always been obsessed with the look of dresses since I was young, and I always thought that's so cool. And I was always thinking, man, I wish I could have been born a girl so that I could just wear dresses in public. You know what I mean? That's the thing about it. But yeah, so that's the thing. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, now I'm wearing my dress on top of my orange shirt. I love this. Yeah. So so basically that's the thing is that
Okay,
People,
you really look like a transgender right now. You know that.
yeah, I know. I look like an Albert Einstein um, with my hair, but I also look like a tranny, basically. And I know that's an offensive term to some people, but you can call me a tranny because I think it's cute. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, see, that's the thing about it is that society decides you play with these toys, you watch these cartoons or watch these movies, you wear these clothes because of what genitals they think you were born with. It's one of those things. And here's what's very, very complicated is, okay, people, they look at somebody's body on the outside with them wearing clothes, and then they attempt to guess whether that person has a penis or vagina. And that's basically what it boils down to. People are obsessed with guessing who has what genitals. And why do they care? Why do they want to know who has what genitals? Because they want to know who they can have sex with. But here's the tricky part. Here's where it all blows apart. I, as somebody who doesn't want to have sex with anybody, no matter what genitals they have, do not care. So I don't look at people and attempt to guess what's underneath their clothes. I actually prefer people to wear clothes. So the thing about me is that I think people should wear clothes, and that clothes were invented so that people wouldn't have to look at people's naked bodies. You know, So I look at it in that way, and so I feel like that what society should be about is people being people. Why do people spend so much mental energy over trying to figure out who has what genitals, and then trying to dictate their behaviors? Women are told not to, they're told, for example, not to go to college, but just get married, for example. This is common in some cultures, more so than the U.S., but that's the way it used to be in the U.S. too, where it's like the role for a woman was to just go marry some rich man, but not to work a job herself, not to get educated herself. And so women have received tremendous amount of discrimination. People born female obviously have been treated horribly throughout history. But what people often miss is it goes both ways. And the men are constantly dictated to, usually by other men. Here's what's weird about it. Men are more victims of men than they are of other women, because you don't usually have a bunch of women bossing men around over what the ones who are making fun of the feminine or gay or trans women, the men who identify as women. It seems to be always the men who are mocking them, the men that are telling them what they should or should not do.
Mm-hmm.
And here's something that I have very strongly observed. The more and more I have become public about how I prefer to be thought of as female, like I feel like inside I more closely match the things that women and girls like that are valuable to them. But I find that threatens men. It threatens men in a lot of ways. And the reason that society is very threatened by transgender people is because all of a sudden it really throws off their ideas about sex. Because all of a sudden they live in a new world where they look at somebody and they have no idea whether they were born male or female. People can change the appearance of their bodies with surgery and hormones, and they can, and with medical science, they're getting better and better at looking like they were born female, even if they were male, or looking like they were male, even if they were born female. So all of a sudden, now, if you are a sexual person, if you are a person who wants to go have sex with somebody, whether consensual or not, I mean, think about it. If you are okay, let's take the worst case scenario. Imagine that somebody is a rapist and they're trying to figure out who they can rape. Well, they see somebody who looks like a woman, but is in fact biologically male and has the physical strength to beat him up. So basically, all the people who want to go and rape women are scared by transgender people because it makes it harder for them to rape people. It makes
well, that's true.
Yeah,
That is
it makes,
true.
yes, it
You know,
makes
there
it.
was an actor a long time ago, and he was arrested for being with a transgender. She might have been a prostitute. I don't
I
know if
did
I
not
want to
know
say
that.
his name, but you can look this up. He's
Huh.
still popular today, and he has like 30 children or grand. I don't know. No, he has. Yeah, he has like a lot of children. Maybe not 30, but around 20, I think. And
Wow.
he put himself like in a light for a while where people were laughing at it because, I mean, he put himself in a bad light when he did that. But it eventually went away, the stigma. I don't
Yeah.
know what he was doing. He claims he was just giving her a ride. I don't know, but I don't know
Yeah.
what kind of ride. Yeah.
It's a very interesting thing because it threatens sexual people. People who are sexual and their top goal is finding who they can have sex with, they are horribly threatened by transgender people because it throws them off. They no longer who they can have sex with. They don't know who's male or female anymore. They can't tell because people have gotten better at hiding their original biological sex. And here's what's interesting is now, at times, all of the people, whether it's the gay, the transgender, the bisexual, whatever, they go way too far at promoting sexuality because people, unfortunately, think it's all about sex. And let me tell you something. Now, I have watched so many gay films on YouTube. I have watched so many of like these gay romance things. I've seen gay men. I've seen gay women. Like I've seen a lot of these things on YouTube. And I got to tell you, the focus on them was not anything sexual. There were no sex scenes in those things that I watched, and I watched quite a few. In fact, I find it is the heterosexual ones, mainstream movies that have all the sex scenes, have all the nudity. The most you ever find in the gay stuff I watched was two men kissing or two women kissing. You know what I mean? And I do not think that I think it's totally possible for people to realize that there is same-sex relationships, whether or not they include sex, whether or not people use their genitals. The fact that people can have gay marriages and other relationships, I think that's just as valid as it is with the opposite sex people, you know. But the very fact that people think of these two people of the same sex and then they automatically try to guess what they do sexually is again society's obsession with people's sexual organs. I do not know why they are so obsessed with that. And for me, practically, here's how I feel because I have very specific goals about me and how I plan to live my life. Because I do not want to go the mainstream route that other transgender people do. Because I don't want to do what everybody else does where they change their bodies in all the standard typical ways. There are certain ways that have become common. However, I think my main goal is I want to bring awareness to this issue, because I want to blow apart people's traditional ideas. And I want people to stop criticizing people and telling them what cartoons they can watch or what toys they can play with or what careers they can do. Like, I don't want people telling someone, oh, well, you're female, therefore you suck at math, for example, as if having a penis made you good at math for some reason, you know? like it's weird. People say these things, you know what I'm talking about, you know, but people want to boss you about your life on every little detail, and they want to make it about whether you're male or female. And the bottom line is live your life the way that is right for you as a person, and don't and do not limit yourself thinking that you can or can't do a certain career, or that you have to have a relationship with someone of a certain biological sex because you're a certain biological sex. That's very weird, you know. And one more thing that I definitely do want to mention, is I do indeed plan to get my testicles removed. And that thing is trying to figure out how I can save money and how I can afford it, because it seems like I'm not able to save money, you know.
I'm
But
sorry. I was smiling. I was thinking of saying something, but I'll refrain.
oh, now you got to say it. Now that you told me that you were going to say something.
Oh no, you'll think that I'm harassing you or something, or this will. Well, we're talking about this in such an educational way. You're like, I want to remove my testicles, and I already told you to show your dress. So I was thinking, what if I said, okay, well, can you show us them? Don't keep them to yourself,
Oh
please.
yeah,
Thank
yeah. I would know you were just joking. Yeah. Well, but here's the thing. But the thing with me is the specific reason I've mentioned this in previous videos, but the specific reason that I think it's important to understand it is that I want my testicles removed not to please society and not for doing any sexual things with people. In my case, my issues are very specific. I have been in tremendous physical pain, for one thing. And second of all, I am very, very tired of the way they get in my way and serve no useful function. It's very, very frustrating because I can tell you something, testicles are very inconvenient. They're just kind of there. They get hurt easily. You end up sitting wrong and you smash them, and it's like the worst place to put something. It's like between the legs there. That's like got to be the worst place to put something. It gets injured so much, and then society has the nerve to laugh when some man gets injured in the testicles, as if it's funny. It's not funny, and it hurts.
I'm smiling.
Yeah, it's really sad, and so I want to remove partly to avoid to get rid of the current pain and to avoid future injuries, but also because you know what, I am so tired of people trying to define me by my genitals. And so I feel like I really want to remove so that next time somebody tells me that I have to do something or that I can't do something because I'm a man, I can tell them, well, guess what? Not anymore. Because I got my testicles removed. And so I'm no longer a man because, without those balls and without this testosterone, you just can't be a man. So so that's the thing, is it's like other men love their testicles. Let me tell you, especially straight men, like they love their testicles because that testosterone, and the testosterone does contribute to a large majority of the male physical appearance. The muscle mass, the extra body hair, it has a lot to do with that. And without that, then over time, certain changes do occur slowly because the hormonal balance changes as the body has to readjust. But there are many eunuchs who have lived their lives without their testicles, and you know what? They're healthy. They're doing fine. And but when somebody mentions wanting their testicles removed, most men completely freak out because to them that's like, what? Because to them, their testicles are like their whole identity. Like their whole identity and everything about them is wrapped up in their testicles because those testicles are what causes the testosterone that causes the erection so that they can have sex. And when someone gets rid of that, that means there's no more sex.
And why are they hurting you? Can you explain that to me a little bit more and whoever's watching us?
Yes, actually. I have had some very, very bad injuries in my life. Unfortunately, my stuff down there is damaged. I have a varicocele and some blood is trapped. It could even be life-threatening because there is a chance of blood clots because like the blood is restricted and the blood is not flowing there. And ever since a few years back, I had this massive thing where I jumped on the seat of my bicycle and completely smashed my testicles. It hurt really bad. And I was in very, very bad pain for quite a few months. It feels like it's slowly, over the past few years, it's slowly diminished just a little bit. However, I still have very bad, sharp pains. If I get into certain positions, when I'm crouching on the floor at my job trying to files, when I get into certain positions, or I have to be very careful when I do ride my bike. And a lot of times I walk instead of riding my bike because it's so dangerous. But the location of where they are and previous injuries I have had, I have been kicked there by kids while I was growing up too. That's another thing. And I've had so many injuries sitting on the wrong way, and then that really bad injury on the bike. And it's very sad. But what's happened, and this is something I have personally observed, I've noticed it because it was about 2 years ago in the spring, actually, when I had that injury and the really bad pain started. Well, they've shrunk a little bit over time. They have been getting smaller and smaller progressively, and I can tell the difference.
Atrophying?
Yes.
They're atrophying.
Yeah. So basically, I have testicular atrophy, and I know from my last hormone test, and that was a year ago, that I do have much lower testosterone than the average man. And my doctor was surprised about that. And so based on the available evidence, I think I know what's happening. Because of numerous injuries. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Monique?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So because of numerous injuries to that area, the blood flow is restricted. The testicles are being deprived of the blood and the nutrients to keep them alive. They're probably not getting enough oxygen. It's not traveling to them. So as a result, they're hurting and they're shrinking slowly shriveling up. Mm-hmm. And as they shrink, they're getting smaller. It's like they're constricting, and I think that's what's causing the pain as they shrink, because the blood flow is slowed down, so they shrink more and more over time. So that basically I'm having a slow testicle death, and it's hurting. And it would have been so nice if I had just been rich and could have just afforded to travel somewhere and have surgery to get them removed, so that I would not have been in pain all these months. But because I don't have the money, I have to live with these painful testicles. And so there's the thing is, I would still want them removed for so many reasons anyway. But the fact that I've been in pain just really kind of pushed me over the edge. And I have been more and more angry at it ever since then, because everybody else thinks testicles are so great, and they're the main driving force behind the sexuality. And as somebody who is asexual and who is a virgin and never plans to have sex, mm-hmm. they are completely useless. Mm-hmm. If somebody wants to have sex with using their penis and have erections, they have to keep their testicles. If you want to reproduce, if you want to procreate, then you need your testicles. But my case is a very rare one, because I'm not going to be doing those things anyway. So it's completely, these parts are just completely useless to me. And here's a comparison for, I know I've been talking a lot about testicles, and this is very awkward, but I want to make a brief comparison.
It's awkward to you. You seem so confident about it.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm comfortable with you, Monique. Let's put it that way. You're my celibate vegan compadre. So, but here's an example that women can understand. Biological women can understand. For example, the breasts. Now, breasts have a certain function, feeding babies. We know that that's the biological function of them. But mm-hmm. if somebody doesn't have babies to breastfeed, then what are they doing there? What are the breasts doing there? What's the purpose? And so when you look at it in that lens, that people have body parts that only make it easier for them to get injured, or that weigh them down and are a great inconvenience to them. It's like women can't wear certain clothes because their boobs are too big or something like that. And then society comments on their boob size, for example, and all that, Mm-hmm. And it's like, so there are a lot of women who do want their breasts removed, and some who have the surgery removed. It's extremely painful, but some do it. And then some
I think it's more like a breast reduction they don't take them off completely. I haven't heard that being popular unless, unfortunately, God forbid, they have cancer.
Yeah, well, that is the thing. Yeah, with cancer, they do try to remove as much as they can to get rid of the cancer. So that's the thing. But it's a very weird. And then the trans men, the women who want to be men, obviously, often get their breasts removed through
Well,
surgery.
yes.
Yeah, that's the common case, I would say. But there are many reasons they are an inconvenience. So I think that's a good comparison, that it serves no a body part that's just there and it gets hurt and you can't wear certain clothes because that body part interferes with it. It's just a nuisance. If you are a person who has a use for a body part, it's not like an arm or leg. You know, arms and legs and hands, they all have uses. We use them. We use our legs to walk. We use our arms and hands to lift things and use computers and stuff, all that sort of thing. So they have a use. So of course we enjoy our hands and our legs and feet and body parts that we use every day. We love them, of course. Most people don't want their hand chopped off. But the thing, yeah, but what I'm saying is these genitals, for example, you know, because, you know, that's the thing is basically men have outies. They're on the outside, the genitals, you know? So that's the thing about it, is that they're such a nuisance and so useless that there are groups on Reddit. There are groups on Facebook. There are online unit communities, websites of all these men who are asking each other, well, where can I go to get my testicles removed? You know, what do any insurance cover this? Where are these doctors located? You know, how much does it cost? You know, there are a whole bunch of men trying to help each other get their testicles removed. It's actually a very common thing, and you would not guess it. You would not guess that it's that common, that there are all these people that are looking to have this done. But a lot of people have very compelling reasons for wanting removed. And so I do think it comes down to desire. It comes down to, do you have a use for those parts and want to keep them, or are they completely useless and just in your way? You know, so that's the thing. And so that's probably, I would have to say, of all the things I could ever say on my YouTube channel, that's probably the most shocking thing for people to hear, is that I want my testicles removed. But I really do. But I want to mention that, you know, in other people's case, the body modifications they want to do are a little bit different, because they want to have their body change so that they will look a certain way to society, you know.
I mean, I've thought about it myself, to be frank. You know, not to have implants. I've never wanted or breast. I always thought, like, that doesn't make you more as a woman by putting bags, you know, silicone bag or whatever they use now. I think it's insulting, actually. But I've thought about, you know, lipo and have the nose up a little bit, maybe here. Also, now we could use the word brave. I'm not brave enough, but I would love to be taller, because I'll tell you, I'm 5'4.5", and I used to wear these boots that made me 6 inches taller, and I would just get so much attention. Like, it was amazing. And I realized that people like tall people. So
can you imagine me wearing that? You'd be way taller than me, because I'm only 5'8". I'm short.
Well, it made me, like, what, about 5'10".
Yeah.
You know, and I gotta tell you, I had a lot of male attention when I would wear these. It was amazing. I think that there are a number of guys that like tall women, because you're actually, number one, their sight, they could look you in the eye. And also, when you're taller, clothes seem to look better on you sometimes, It depends on the outfit, but
Yeah.
that's why supermodels have to be like 5'10" or 5'11" and higher. And when I would wear clothes because of that extra height, it did look good. So, but that would require to break my bones in my legs and put a steel rod between the
Yeah.
yeah. But I did read that there were some women in China where their family had them do it because they thought that it would give them a better chance at life. And I'm presuming that means that men, wealthier men, would want to marry them and they'd have a
Uh,
better financial. That's what I
yeah.
think. I don't know what they meant by better life.
Yeah. It's a weird thing because I feel like I think more than anything, I want people who are thinking about any kind of body modification to think about the reasons for doing it. Is like, are you doing it because it's something that would make you personally happy? Or are you doing it just to get a reaction from society, for the society to treat you better? That kind of thing. For example, would it matter? Like, let's say, for example, okay, I'll just use my testicles as an example. Okay, so basically, if there were no other humans on this planet, I would still want my testicles removed, because then they're a great nuisance to me. So it has nothing to do with what society thinks of my testicles because they don't see them. They assume that I have testicles, but they don't see them. You know what I'm saying? So they're not going to know by looking at me while I'm wearing clothes whether or not I have testicles. But I will know, and I will be in less pain, and I will feel good about that. Also, they're very heavy, and I'll feel so much lighter. I'll probably it'll feel like I've lost half a pound by having that removed because the blood's
Well, it's
just pooled in there.
interesting going back to the like, why do I want to be taller? Is it just for
Yeah.
the attention? But it's interesting too that there's a lot of Mexican Americans in my area, and the culture in general. Not all, but a lot are on the shorter height side.
Yeah.
So I'm actually, for females, I'm taller a lot of times because the women, they tend to be around like 5'1", 5'2", I've noticed, and the men, they're, I don't know, like 5'5", 5'6", or so it's
Yeah.
interesting because I'm like the same height as
Yeah.
a lot of the men are. I mean, not exactly. I mean, they're, but
Yeah.
pretty close, and I'm taller than the women.
Yeah.
And I gotta say though, that makes me feel a little bit more in control, because when I look at somebody who's a lot higher than me,
Uh-huh.
I get like this feeling of I'm not um it's almost like I'm not worthy in a way because they're towering over me. I'm not as prestigious or whatnot, and that's all based on the height. And
Yeah.
there was one person that I was interested a long time ago, and he was probably like, I don't know, 6'4" or something, and I wore those boots, those 6-inch boots, so I could match him a little bit. When I didn't have them, I felt like I was inadequate in order to be like around him, even as a friend, because I just felt so small.
Yeah. It's very weird. Well, think about how we'd feel next to a giraffe. You know how tall they are. They got their long necks. They're mostly neck. Their just neck just goes way up there. Like, it's very interesting because when you think about size relative, but if there were no other humans besides you, you would be the tallest and the shortest all at the same time. You know? it's kind of a weird thing, but I feel like that is more of an example of how you feel in relation to society, like based on relative height, that kind of thing, you know. Um, but yeah, like it's very interesting. But yeah, you know, there's this weird story I heard about this woman who got a silicone injection at somebody's house, like not by a medical professional.
Oh,
It was somebody's house, and apparently they got poisoned from it. Apparently this person used the kind of silicone that's used on people's bathtub stuff, whatever.
I
Like,
think I heard that one too.
yes, it was in the news. And so yeah, so basically her skin went black and her skin started falling off. She lost her butt, skin of her butt fell off. She'd had an injection in her butt, and then her hands and feet fell off too, because it was this weird stuff designed to seal up bathtubs or bathroom type stuff, a different kind of silicone. It wasn't the medical kind. So her body was poisoned and she lost some body parts, almost died. And that's the thing is, it's crazy. I mean, just think about it though. To begin with, why are people obsessed with having a bigger butt? Why would somebody pay great amounts of money just for somebody to make their butt bigger? That's
So they have more cushion when they're sitting? No, it's all because of that darn Kim Kardashian. She made it popular.
Oh, I have heard of her. I don't know who she is because I don't care about celebrities, but I've heard of the name. But yeah, but it's very messed up. But yeah, people are very strange about that. But there are real risks associated with body modification. Even if you get it done by trained medical people who use the right stuff, there are still risks with any of these kinds of surgeries and injections. There are health risks, things to be aware of. So you got to really want to do something, and for a very good reason, before you have some kind of surgery done or some kind of injection done. And you have to ask yourself, is it worth the risk? Is it worth the money? You know, is the result is people might think it makes them happier in certain ways if they have a bigger butt or if they're taller or whatever, you know. But will it lead to lasting happiness, or are they letting society dictate to them what they have to do, that they have to make their body look a certain way? And I feel that that's just as wrong as what people do to me when they tell me that because I'm biologically a man that I have to do or don't do certain things. The fact that people are bossing other people about the way they have to behave and the way their body has to look. Cute teeth, by the way.
Oh,
Wait,
I was giving myself a natural facelift.
yeah, but like,
I look like a
wait,
chipmunk.
I can't do it like you did. But
By the way, you have really nice lips. They're pretty plump.
yeah, you know what? Women have told me they are jealous of my feminine lips. Like, people have told me this. It's very weird. Apparently, I have very fat lips. They're very big, and I don't know what's up with that. But
What's your genetics? I mean, what's your ethnicities?
well, actually, it's a very strange combination because there's a lot of German ancestry. My mom's side of the family, my mom's mother's side of the family has a lot of Germans, and then there's also like some English from my grandfather's side, from my mom's father, and then my father has more of a Scandinavian, or I can't remember what kind of thing. So I have a weird mix of genetics from different cultures.
I mean, because frankly, I think that they look more like Italian or somewhere in the Mediterranean, or maybe like some Africa, which you might be, because personally, I think we all came from there anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so I have a weird thing going on because I have a very thick lips and I have a rather feminine face. You might have noticed, like, compared to a lot of men's faces that are very bony and hard, I have like this plump face. I have like this fat cheeks, kind of, you know, just enough to give me a nice appearance. I kind of like the way my face looks, honestly. You know, it's nice. Um, But yeah, that's the thing. There are things that we all like and don't like about our body. But it's one of those things. So, but I try. That yeah, the only real big change I do want to make to my body is getting those annoying testicles removed. But I like my body for the most part, and I just very hardly resist what society, the box they want to put me into. And you know what I mean? Like, and this is kind of a weird thought. This is a very strange thought, but maybe you can understand this. I always felt like I never really wanted to have a relationship with a woman. Like I didn't want to date or marry a woman. And you know why? Well, I always thought, well, if I have a relationship with a woman, then society will view me as a man. And I don't know, like maybe, like I had this weird fantasy, like, well, maybe I can marry a trans man, a woman that is turned into a man, and then I can turn myself into a woman. So then we can both be kind of like technically gay and straight at the same time in a weird way, and completely blow society's expectations, so that I could tell people that my husband was born female and that I would be the wife that was born male, so that we would have the benefits of looking like a heterosexual couple and be seen as normal, but not be normal, and have fun stories to tell at parties. But where do you find a person like that? Where, anyway, it's a silly fantasy, but it's one of those things that I thought about. Like, I always felt kind of like I wanted to resist the idea of a traditional heterosexual marriage, because that's too much like what society would expect me to do. I want to do the unexpected, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, yeah, I feel like anything that blows societal expectations and stereotypes people have is a good thing. But I want to bring this back to the celibacy too, because the thing about celibacy and asexuals, who are not necessarily celibate but often are, is that it challenges the traditional system more than anything, because everything else in society is so sex saturated. Sex is everywhere. And the very fact that there's somebody who comes along and that's not part of their life confuses people. It confuses people to no end. They can't imagine that somebody lives without that. It's weird. Like, people act strange. Like, people freak out when they find out I don't even drive a car because everybody else drives a car, for example. When people find out that you don't have sex, they think, well, how? How do you go without sex? And it's that seems so weird to me. It seems very, very weird, because I mean, kids don't have sex usually. They're kids. They don't think about it. But then for some reason, everybody thinks that you have to have sex by the age of 14 anymore. Like, that seems like more and more it's gotten pushed into this weird thing where younger and younger people in high school think that they have to have sex with somebody. And then they find somebody who is 18 and they're still a virgin, and they think that's freaky. Oh, and I should mention this. I did watch the movie The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Because I had heard of that movie. So I watched that movie, and okay, I'll be the first to admit it was kind of a sick movie. A lot of bad language, but it was actually very funny. And you know why? It was because the reactions of the way people treated that guy after they found out he was 40 years old and a virgin are the same way people treat asexuals and people who are celibate like us. People completely freak out, and then it became everyone's quest to get him to have sex. And that's what people have done to me too. So the movie is kind of realistic in that that's the way people act, that other people seem obsessed with getting someone to have sex and no longer be a virgin. So the movie is making fun of something that actually happens. Like, I feel like they were kind of making fun of the people who were always pressuring him into having sex too. that's what I like about the movie. It's too bad that it had so much sexual content in it, but other than that, it was pretty funny movie. So I thought that'd be funny to mention because I'm almost a 33-year-old virgin, and when I'm 41, I will have the new record. I'll be the 41-year-old virgin, and then I'll have him beat.
So I noticed that your hair is growing longer, and I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you about that. And I noticed you're playing with it too.
Oh yeah, I like playing with it. See, the longer it is, the more I can play with it. I like to just do funny stuff with my hair. Like it gets long, and I like to shake it, and I just like to do crazy stuff with it. Like it's just. Sometimes I just find myself just twirling and like twisting it and funny stuff. Like it's. I don't know. Hair is fun to play with, and so I've been, just kind of letting it grow. I trim little parts now and then with scissors, but my intention is to get it kind of long looking. I like it, and it gives me a very unique look because I have longer hair than any of the men that I know. Because that's another one of those examples. It's just a tradition that men have to keep their hair short and women have long hair. And that's just one of those things. By having long hair, I have automatically kind of already marked myself like, whoa, people say like, whoa, this person has long hair. And people call me ma'am who only see my backside. They call me lady or ma'am or whatever from the backside, because from the backside, when they don't see my face at all, I look a girl because I have long hair. And then I turn around and they see my face and they call me sir and apologize. And I'm like, no, I liked it better when you called me ma'am. That's what I tell them. And then they look at me so confused. It's hilarious. One of those interesting experiences. But yeah, now we've talked for an hour and 11 minutes. Can you believe it? For this
111. That's an angel number. I want to ask you though regarding celibacy. I've mentioned this before, that part of being celibate isn't just refraining from the sexual intercourse. I feel that it's wanting your body to be as pure as possible so that you could have the best quality of life with it,
Yeah.
That's how we go through life with our body. And some people get angry if you use the word pure, because they think, oh, that's radical religion and you're trying to do something to me and you're slut shaming me. That's not what I'm trying to say. But realistically speaking, if you're having intercourse, both of you, but especially the female, she's having like foreign substance go in, and to me that's not pure. I'm not saying that I'm not slut shaming. I'm just pointing out the facts. And so since we're talking about body modification, whether it be gender or just for aesthetic purposes or both, what do you think that means to a celibate? Because in some ways it's going against the thought of keeping your body pure, because now even if a medical professional is doing something, it's technically tampering with what you already have. So yeah, in fact, I'll let you know something. I won we're talking about 5G radio frequency in the or microwave in our last episode, but there's something called microneedling, and they put like a low frequency to your face, and it allows your collagen to come back, to get firmer. Well, I won that. I won a dance contest. I didn't tell you. And I've been putting it off because I'm a little bit afraid, because I've seen, it's very slight, the danger, but any danger, I'm like, oh, well, that's my face.
Yeah.
So, so I'd like to know what your thoughts are on the celibate angle for the body modification. Yeah. I mean, you pretty much said it already.
I get what you're saying, because in a similar way, like having somebody's genital fluid entering your body is a weird foreign substance that has health consequences. And the same is true for these people who get the silicone or Botox injections or weird stuff like that, having some strange thing injected into their body. I mean, that stuff is not without risk. And
Well,
there is
it's not that. It's not nothing injecting. It's just like stimulating. I would not want Botox. That's
right. Well,
poisonous.
yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying though about the stimulating yourself with the electromagnetic, and I don't know about that. I don't know much about that and what effect that would have. But yeah, I mean, if you're afraid of the risk, then I wouldn't suggest it, of course. But I get the principle about keeping your body pure and keeping it the way it is, rather than just introducing other strange things into it. I totally get that. For example, now this is a kind of a strange concept, but you know how the Jehovah's Witnesses are against blood transfusions? Have you
I
heard of
didn't
that?
know that. No.
Yeah, apparently, the Jehovah's Witnesses think that it's a bad thing. It's against their religion to receive blood transfusions from another person, because then they are taking that person's lifeblood into their system.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, blood transfusions are usually done only to save somebody's life anyway. If they've lost a huge amount of blood, then they have to find somebody else who has a similar blood type. Because certain blood types, if they inject them, will just kill the person instead, apparently. So there's certain blood types that has to be compatible. So they have to test the blood anyway. But Jehovah's Witnesses are against that, which is a very interesting thing. But it's just in line with the concept that, keeping your body pure the way it is, rather than trying to take some other weird thing from somewhere else. I get that concept of purity, and I do think that people need to get that. And actually, I have no problem with purity. In fact, that's another one of the meanings of chastity is purity. It has many meanings, and it has ties with celibacy and virginity and purity. Like, all these words go together. And isn't it strange that so-called purity culture is a lot about people keeping their virginity? They call it purity culture, and of course,
Yes, exactly.
and a
And
lot
that's
of
why
that,
people would get upset. But I see nothing wrong with it. I mean, I like it, but there's
yeah,
quite a number of people who would. Also, people will say, well, sex isn't dirty. Well, yeah, it is, because you're putting a foreign substance in you. I
yeah,
would call that dirty. Um, and then some people say, oh, dirty sex, rough sex. So it can go both ways on whoever's saying it. But yeah, like, not having sex is purer than having sex. There's no ifs, ands, or
yeah,
buts about it from a biological standpoint. And yes,
yeah,
sex is dirty compared to not, because you're putting something foreign in
yeah,
there. Even if it's clean, the genital, it's still,
yeah.
there's stuff. I mean, and
I mean,
you can't even get like everything off of you, I think. You can get as much as you can, but there's always bacteria on you.
well, yeah, and don't people realize that where the semen comes out is the same place the pee comes out from? It's the same hole. It goes to the exact same place. So it's like peeing on somebody. That's exactly what it's like. And so it's like, if
Which
some
is probably why some men do it anyway. They pee on the woman. Well, I think it's more of a territorial thing. But it's like, I think to myself, if that feels good, that liquid coming out like that, they probably think the urine feels good too. And these women, they allow it because it's like some kink or whatever. That's where that guy R. Kelly got in trouble, who he's in a mess. He was with underage women, and he did that to like a 14-year-old, and they let it go for years and years until the Me Too movement came out, and then people came out and like spoke out against him. It's called a golden shower, and it's disgusting. And you mentioned, since you mentioned that, we need to give that link to the um, video that you gave me of God and the angel, where he's talking about the mechanisms of the
oh yeah, that
of the biology, because that's pretty hysterical, where he
yes,
says, like, the poop hole, the pee hole, and all that stuff, and it's, oh,
I
this
know,
is intelligent design. It doesn't make
I know.
sense.
that was a very good video. Yeah, we will try to put that link in the description. But yes, for those who don't know what we're talking about, there was a video by Dark Matter 2525, and he does a lot of religious parody videos, and one of them was about the time when God was trying to design a system for humans to reproduce. And so then it's like, it was so funny because he's like, oh, I'm gonna the chemical waste rod will shoot seeds into the people making hole, and it was like, what? It was absolutely hilarious because it pointed out all of the and that wasn't even the funniest part of the video. If I remember the funniest part of the video, here's what it was, and people know what I'm talking about. Okay, so God says that he's going to make the one with the chemical race wad attracted to the baby feeders.
Okay? Oh my God, it's so funny. I'm about to go to the bathroom. Oh my God, let me hold it in.
And then Jeffrey the okay, and then Jeffrey the angel, he says, and what will the person with the baby making hole find it? Yeah, yeah, you have to stop laughing so I can finish this. Yeah, so what will the person with the people making hole find attractive about the person with the chemical waste rod? And then God says, absolutely nothing. And it's true, like, because it's not attractive. It's not attractive. You know, like.
No, it's not.
I watched that video.
I think there's some women that do like the I call it the sausage, you know, but I would have to say that most women really don't. Whereas men, like, they're more. I think men are more attracted to the women, you know, genitalia than the vice versa, because women, they don't like to get these unsolicited, as they're called, dick pics. They don't,
yeah, exactly.
You know? And they're gonna make it a law in Texas that you can't do that, and hopefully some other, you know, around the country, because that's really threatening when you get one of those. But
yeah.
I don't even know if I don't think that a lot of guys that send them even want to threaten the women. They just think that they like it, but they're getting the message that they don't. So don't, if you're listening to this, don't send that to anybody.
Yes, and here's the thing. I got to tell you, if you're one of those people who really think you're going to send a picture of your penis to some woman on the internet, I can promise you they have probably already seen hundreds of them from other people sending them to you. You can't send them anything that they haven't seen already, because the truth is that they probably all look about the same. Some of them might differ slightly in color based on the skin color, but they're all going to look pretty much the same, you know? Like, you know, and I could not help noticing, I get those too. I get, ever since I changed my profile picture to be an anime girl, you know, on Facebook, I have been getting so many pictures of people's penises. It's sent private message in Facebook, and I see this and I'm like, wait, what? That's like twice as long as mine. Like, what in the world is that? You know, like, it's crazy. So they think I'm going to be impressed by that, but I have one of those at home, so it's nothing I haven't seen before, except
now, see, that goes to show you've already put out that your name is Chastity.
Yeah.
All right. Now they're trying to. There's a few things that they're probably trying to do. They're trying to make you their first one, or they're trying to poke at that and say, "Oh no, you got to like see this," you know. And this is like discrimination and harassment.
Yeah, I know,
because it goes to show you.
Because
it goes to show you, if you say that you're celibate or a virgin, there are a lot of males out there that will, you know, they'll make a run for you. That's why I told you many years ago when we first started this show that saying to someone that that's the way you are, that could actually be very dangerous for you. Right there, you hit yes.
Yeah, it's true, because ever since I started posting all these things about being a virgin and celibate, and posting our Celibate Vegan Voices podcast, it does seem like there's been an increase in people trying to get me laid and sending me their penis pictures. Like, what is up with that? It's like they see me as a challenge. It does seem like that. Like they think that they can just talk me into something. It's very, very weird. And I have blocked so many people. I have even tried, like, over the few years, I've even tried certain dating sites, and it always ended up badly. Like, I would, create a profile and explain that I'm not looking for anything sexual. I'm asexual. I might consider some kind of relationship, but it would not include sex. And I'm also vegan, and that's important. Like, I'd mention all these things. They wouldn't read that, and then they would just send me sexual stuff. And I'm like, did you even read my...
Same thing. They don't
Yeah,
read it.
they don't read it. And even my Facebook page, like, if I'm not mistaken, on my profile page of my Facebook, of course it still shows my old name, because Facebook won't let me change my name, but underneath it, it lets me put a little thing, like an alternative thing, and it says Chastity White Rose, the vegan virgin. That's what I like to call myself. So anyone who looks at, or looks at all the Celibate Vegan Voices podcasts and all the things I do, would know that I am not the kind of person who would appreciate that. And this, I got one more gripe. Planned Parenthood needs to stop sending me emails. I do not know why Planned Parenthood keeps sending me all these petitions and these emails. I like, haven't they gotten the message by now? Everyone knows I'm against abortion, and I think Planned Parenthood should be defunded anyway. So why does Planned Parenthood keep sending me emails trying to get me to protest against pro-life bills that I actually think are a good idea? Like, what's up with that?
Did you get on some sort of list?
I don't
maybe
think
your information was sold. If you did some sort of other petition, maybe that's what happened.
Yeah. They must have gotten my name somehow. I don't know, because I remember a long, long time ago, I had looked at their website and just to see if they had mentioned anything about celibacy or abstinence. And I thought it was very, very interesting, because even the Planned Parenthood website says that abstinence is the only 100% effective way for preventing pregnancy. Even they admit it. That's like the only website that I like. But why they keep emailing me these things, I just don't know. But it just goes to show you, people don't pay attention to listening to. If they realized who I am, they would not be sending me dick pictures, and they would not be sending me all this pro-choice propaganda that I will never fall for. So yeah. But anyway, I mean, I gotta say, we did another long talk, but it has felt really good just releasing all this frustration, because I get so frustrated about the box that society tries to put me in because I was born male, and I will do anything I can to rebel against that, because it's just as wrong when people do this to men as when they do this to women, and I think that it's important for all people to not let society impose to define your gender identity or your romantic or sexual orientation. Make sure that you're not just identifying as a certain thing because society wants you to. And I feel like, to a certain extent, when people have these surgeries and hormones, sometimes to make them look too much like a lot like the other sex from what they were born as, it's almost like they're falling into what society wants them to do.
Right, exactly.
It's almost like they have,
people that don't like that. Yeah. Like that Bruce Jenner, who is a gold medalist runner, then he turned into, what's her name?
Yeah, Caitlyn
What's her
Jenner.
name? Something Jenner.
Caitlyn Jenner.
But Caitlyn, but the thing is, she dresses like ultra extreme female, whereas most females don't at this point.
Yeah. See, that's the thing about it, is that they are letting society still control their choices of what they wear and what they look like and what they act like. And that there are all these tips that people are trying to give them to act more feminine or act more masculine. But that's letting society dictate to us the way we have to be, and that's the problem itself. And so it's almost like, you know what? I would rather just be a person who stands out. Like, yes, I look like a man, but I still feel like I'm more female. And here I am wearing my checkerboard dress. So I am different. And just to shatter people's ideas of what it means to be male or female. And let people be what they want to be rather than telling them, giving them a list of rules of what they have to be. You know, that's the thing about it. So I think that's why I definitely support the LGBT movement. And that should include A. They often don't include the A in that. They really should. But unfortunately, the LGBT people are just so concerned with sexual things that they don't feel like people who are asexual or who are celibate are part of that. But in a way, we face the exact same types of discrimination because we don't go with what society expects us to do. And we face a lot of opposition, and people are constantly trying to pressure us into having sex. It's a very weird thing. So it's very important for people to realize that, yeah, we're facing a very similar type of discrimination, not for what we do, but for what we don't do that people think we should.
And I mentioned that on Coast to Coast AM with the guest host.
Yeah.
His name is Sheridan or something, and he hung up on me. I said, I'm tired of people like saying being celibate is abnormal. What he hung up on me, and then I heard him say, well, I can't imagine anybody saying anything about being celibate. I don't know if that includes everything, but if that makes you happy, then okay. He cut me off. And
Yeah.
it's like I was telling him that we are discriminated against. And
Yeah.
they don't understand, people, just how much we are. But it's got to stop. And that's why we have this show.
Yeah.
I did want to mention that your anime figure, though, I mean,
Yeah.
it's ultra feminine, okay?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, she looks like she probably had lipo, and her skirt is very short, okay? I like her figure. But I'm just telling you that you might be feeding a little bit into what we're talking about. I'm just saying. I'm not telling you to change it, but know that from a female point of view. It's hard to obtain that body type.
Yeah, I don't believe me. I know that. I would say that the girl from that game represents the human female about as much as My Little Pony horses represent real horses, and that it doesn't look very much like a real horse. Just like, and these anime girls, that they are just like the Barbie dolls in a way, because they do not look anything like an anatomically correct female. Not really at all. But they're cartoons. They're meant to look fictional. So don't any. Okay, a message to
but
women out.
It hurts some people. Like I said, I want it to be taller and lipo and whatnot. And I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So
yeah.
You can keep it. But
yeah, people should not be using video game characters and cartoon characters as a model of what they should look like. They can be drawn to look like absolutely anything. And can I tell you something very strange? Since I've already told you everything there is to know in these past 2 episodes we've just done, but honestly, I think most women are just too scrawny. They're just too skinny and weak looking. Like, I think they need to eat more. Like, seriously, like, I think that society has made them obsessed with being all skinny and thinking they should only weigh so much. And then, like, this girl who weighs 128 pounds at work thinks that she's overweight. And I'm like, what? That's kind of small. I'm 160. Like, I think in relation to, like, my size. And then when I find out someone's like, what, you're only 130 pounds or whatever? Like, what? You know, and I know someone who weighed 107 pounds, and of course she was short too. But like people, they're so skinny. It's like basically, if I could pick you up and throw you with one arm, you're probably underweight. Let's just put it that way. You know, yeah, it's like so. Seriously, I think what these women need to do is they need to eat some good or organic vegan food, get themselves packed with some power, and they need to work out so that they can defend themselves. Like seriously, can you imagine? It's very very bizarre. There's something bizarre about this obsession with them being small. It's very and another thing that people don't realize is, well, all that smallness, aside from the health consequences when they're not eating enough, for example, it does screw up their reproductive cycle. It does actually make it harder in when they do, if they get pregnant and give birth to children, because their bodies are too weak to support it. Because if they have a lifetime of unhealthy and under eating, then it's going to have bad results. So I think the messages they send to girls with those kind of unrealistic dolls and cartoon characters is horribly damaging. And anorexia is a terrible thing. Like seriously.
You
And
had it, right? Didn't you
well,
have something like that?
well, my issue was a little bit different because in my case it was more about worrying about having enough food and being afraid to eat and then running out of food. It was kind of a thing, and then not feeling like I deserved to eat. But it was different because it wasn't a fear of being overweight. It wasn't fear of how people would treat me if I was overweight. It was more about food insecurities and, will I have enough food, and what, like, do I deserve the money that it takes to buy the food. And when you're getting food off of government assistance, there's that feeling like that other people are paying for my food, and am I worthy, like it's weird. It's a very hard feeling. So it was a kind of an eating disorder, but it wasn't really anorexia so much. It was different. It was a very strange relationship with food, where I was afraid to eat and not, and it's one of those things I've had to fight against, and I have to make myself eat, because sometimes I will go a long time. I have been known to go 24 hours without eating sometimes.
Did
And
you ever have any hair fall out because of it?
any what?
Hair.
Um, well, no, but I know that can happen. Yeah, bad things happen when people are undernourished, so it's
Just
important to.
wanted to ask because I happen to have organic vegan biotin gummies here,
Oh,
and I had a I had a time where I was losing some hair, but now it stopped. And then my nails have been growing very long, and
whoa,
little
that's
kids
long.
want to know. Yeah, they want to know, like, why are your fingernails so long? Well, why not? But I say it's biotin. They're like, what's that? But this stuff is good if you ever experience brittle hair or nails or whatnot. Just thought
Yeah,
I'd
I have
that in.
seen that before in stores. Yeah. Awesome.
Maybe, maybe another one of our sponsors. I
Yeah,
like
I know.
I like to end the show. Oh yeah, I have other things here too before we go, because I wanted to share people what to get. I heard that this is really good to take a little bit, but I have to look more into it. It's also good to wash your food with it. Apple cider vinegar.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that stuff. Okay, you're not gonna believe what I tried to do with that stuff. One time I bought some and I just tried to drink it straight. I
Oh,
Yeah, I just tried to drink it, and
well, you
it tastes.
could, but I don't know how much you can.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, it didn't taste very good when I tried it that way.
I also want to show you, actually, though, a little bit is supposed to be good for you, from what I hear. I'm not a drinker, but because I come from an Italian background, wine was always in the household. So every now and then I'll just take like a little bit of wine. This stuff is
Ooh.
organic, Merlot, and there's no sulfites in it. Sulfites, I think, come from chlorine in the vat, something like that. So Anyway, this was only $8, which is really great. California wines are pretty, they're cheaper over here than if they go, I guess, to the center of the country or whatnot, because there's a lot of vineyards over here. A lot of them got destroyed during the fires. And then this is something else that is neat to put into like plant milk, because it makes it sweeter. There's like mushroom and tea, and so you can really make yourself something like you would at Starbucks, only it's much healthier and cheaper.
Yeah,
I wanted to show you that too. I wanted to maybe close out the show because you had me rolling just a while ago with that God and
yeah.
angel with the our genitalia mechanisms and why they were designed that way. Would you like to do what we did for our other show where you actually played the video on your cell phone? Because I think that people should really just see that. We shouldn't just make them go to a link.
Yeah, you know what? That's actually a really good idea. How about we do that in a future episode
Well,
where
why not now? We've just mentioned it.
well, we've just already gone so long in this one that I really think we need to close out this one. You know what I'm saying?
They
You know.
can shut it off if they want. Give them what they want. And we'll say bye now, and we'll let that close out the show.
Okay. All right.
So
Bye.
I am Monique Lukens. You are Chastity White Rose, like the white in that little dress of yours, big
Yeah.
dress, whatever. And we are the Celibate Vegan Voices. And now to our cartoon that someone else did.
Okay. Bye.